Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I have some enemies to lovers romance recs for you. I've already done one of these videos in the past, so I will link it down below if you want even more recs. And so let's just get right into them. So the first book I want to talk about is Punk 57 by Penelope Douglas. I feel like this book is everywhere now. It wasn't when I put it on this list to do this video, so unfortunately I feel like everyone's heard about this now. But if you haven't, this one follows a girl who is pen pals with this guy from the time that they're really young kids, and they write each other all the time, but they don't know each other. They don't look each other up on Facebook, so they don't know what the other one looks like or who they are or anything about them. But the boy ends up moving to the same town or school area as the girl is living in, and he knows she's there, but she doesn't know he's there. And so he's kind of watching her, and he realizes when he meets her in real life that she is nothing like she's been in her letters, and he kind of hates her. And so he's like super mad because he feels like she's been lying to him all these years, and he was like falling in love with this girl that doesn't exist because she's like in real life she's just like an annoying cheerleader that he doesn't like. And it sort of turns into like kind of like a bully romance, but not really, but it definitely does have like those kind of vibes in it. But definite enemies to lovers. They do sort of, it is sort of like friends to enemies to lovers because they are like friends when they're pen paling, but like when they meet in person, it's enemies to lovers. So this one is definitely a good one for that. Next is The Layover by Lacey Walden. I really loved this book. I talk about it pretty often. It is about a flight attendant who is kind of on her last flight. She's decided she's ready to settle down with this guy, and he has sort of said to her, okay, like if we're getting ready to like get married and settle down, like basically shouldn't you quit your job, like you're always flying all these places and we're never together and all these things. So she kind of decides like, yeah, okay, like I'll quit and I guess find something else to do. And so she's on her what's going to be her last flight as a flight attendant, and she goes in to the airport, and when she gets to the parking lot she gets cut off by this guy, and there's like this whole thing with this guy, and she just like can't stand him right off the bat. And she ends up finding out that he's a flight attendant, and he's just constantly annoying her with all these little things he's doing. And then she finds out he's a flight attendant on her same flight, and she's just like super mad about it and can't stand this guy. He's doing everything he can to like annoy her, and she just like can't stand it. And they end up in Belize, and there's sort of like this thing that happens that results in them sort of getting stranded there for an extra day. And so she's kind of stuck with him, and obviously very like enemies to lovers. They like hate each other off the bat, but they do grow closer over the time that they're together. And I really like this one. It reminded me a lot of The Hating Game in that it's like a workplace setting, although this one is kind of, in my opinion, really cool because it takes place obviously on like a tropical island and on a plane instead of like in an office. So I thought that was a little bit unique and definitely interesting. And then of course, speaking of The Hating Game, that is my next rec. Obviously this one has become super popular. The movie just came out for this one, and this one follows a girl who works in an office building and sits at a desk across from this guy who is just like the opposite of her. She is super sort of like out there, like wears all these different outfits and has like stuff all over her desk, and he is just like super like clean and minimal and organized, and she just can't stand him. And they both end up competing for the same job, but they sort of are playing all these little games with each other at work where they keep joking about like calling human resources and like all these things that they keep doing to pick on each other. And this one's just really cute. Definite, again, enemies to lovers vibes. Obviously, I feel like everyone's heard about this one, so I'm not going to talk about it too much, but just in case you haven't, it definitely fits this trope. Next is Top Secret by Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy. I feel like this one sort of has almost Punk 57 vibes, where it's about a guy who, this one is MM, first of all. It's about a guy who has a girlfriend, and for her birthday, she's like, I want a threesome. So he's like, okay. And he goes on this dating app to find another guy to do this with for his girlfriend's birthday. And he ends up talking to this guy on this app, and they're talking and like getting to know each other and all these things. And he eventually sort of realizes that they haven't really been talking about his girlfriend anymore, and the two of them seem to be growing closer. But it's one of those situations where they're messaging each other on this app, and they think that it's like an anonymous person, but really they're actually like live next door to each other in the frat house and hate each other. And one of them just like hates the other because he's got money, and the other one's on a scholarship, and he just like thinks that the other guy's like really pretentious and spoiled basically. And I just really loved the whole vibe of this book. Serena Bowen and Elle Kennedy's books are so good. I don't know what it is about when they write together, but it is always amazing. and this one is no different. Definitely love it. College setting. Again, enemies to lovers, but they don't really know because they're talking on the app and they're being super nice to each other on the app, but they don't realize that it's the other person. So definitely loved this one. Next is Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. I feel like I can also include Stolen Air by Sophie Lark, which I'm currently reading. They're both enemies to lovers. In Brutal Prince, the main characters end up in an arranged marriage after the girl accidentally sets the guy's house on fire. They're from rival, like, mafia families, and her dad decides after she accidentally sets his house on fire that the solution to this, like, long-running feud is for them to get married. And she's super mad about it, he's super mad about it, but they, like, gotta do what they gotta do. So they get married, but they, like, can't stand each other, and they're constantly, like, picking at each other and just, like, being super annoying. And I really, really love this one. I think the tension was really good in this one. Their, like, banter back and forth between each other was really good. And it's just, like, such a good enemies to lovers book. Like I said, Stolen Air, the second one, is also really good as well. I'm not finished that one, so I can't, like, tell you about the ending if it's good. But so far, it's about a girl who gets kidnapped by this guy who is sort of holding her hostage just to, like, go at her family, basically. Like, he doesn't really want anything from her. He just wants to destroy her family. And so he's kind of got her trapped in this house with him, and it's sort of like a Beauty and the Beast kind of situation. And she is just stuck in this house with him. He's keeping her, like, prisoner, and so they're definitely, like, hating each other at the beginning, but then they're also spending all this time in the house together, so they're getting closer and learning each other and, like, different things. And so far I'm really liking that one, so definitely another good enemies to lovers so far. Next is Only When It's Us by Chloe Liese. Oh god, someday I'm gonna learn how to say this name, I really am. But in this book, it is about a girl who's a soccer player for her school, and she is having trouble in this class, and she's kind of annoyed because the professor won't give her the notes because he sort of thinks that, like, student athletes shouldn't get, like, a basically, like, unfair advantage kind of thing. And so he says to her, like, I'm not making you a copy of the notes. Basically, ask the guy beside you because he has the notes. And she's like, okay, fine. So she asks this guy beside her, and he just completely ignores her, and she's like, wow, like, what a jerk. So the professor tells her to ask the guy beside her, and she does, and he completely ignores her, and she's like, what the heck is up with that? Like, this guy is so rude. Why does the professor keep telling me to ask him for help? And it turns out this guy is deaf. Literally didn't even hear her or know she was talking to him, and then she just starts being, like, super rude back to him because she thinks that he's, like, ignoring her on purpose and all this stuff. And it's just really funny and really cute. Definite enemies to lovers because they, like, obviously she immediately hates him because she thinks he's a jerk, and then he kind of starts hating her because she's being a jerk to him and he doesn't know why. And I really like this one. It's definitely like a slow burn kind of romance as well, college setting again. Really liked that. I've heard the second book in the series is really good as well if you wanted, like, another random book rec. I haven't read it yet, but really excited to get to that one. Next is You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hogel. This one I sort of had mixed feelings on. I didn't love the beginning because I felt like it was just really strange, and the ending was pretty good. Like, I think the second half of the book made up for the first half. And in this one, it is about a couple who is together and they're engaged, getting married, but they don't really, like, kind of feel like they're in love. Like, when you're reading it, they kind of hate each other and they're, like, doing all these things to annoy the other one, and you're just kind of like, why are you even together? But neither of them wants to back out of the wedding because the guy is worried that his mom is going to pressure him to find someone else to, like, have grandkids as soon as possible, and she doesn't want to pay for it, and she thinks she'll have to pay for her dress and everything if she backs out. So they're both basically going forward with this wedding that neither of them wants, and they're picking on each other, and then their picking on each other ends up evolving into them actually falling back in love. And I thought this one was really cute. Like I said, the second half of the book is definitely what makes this book, and definitely was a really good one. Another one that falls in this category is Twice Shy by the same author. This one is about a girl who inherits this house, and she shows up and finds out that this other guy has inherited, like, half the house too, and she's super mad. He's super mad because he's like, where the heck did you come from? And she's like, yo, this is my house. And so they kind of hate each other, like, on the spot because they feel like the other one has intruded on their sort of rightful inheritance, and they're kind of tiptoeing around each other, whatever, in this house because one wants to turn it into one thing and one wants to do something else, and they're kind of just always arguing with each other and different things, but also obviously spending all this time together because they're both at this house, and things go from there. definite enemies to lovers, super super cute, really love this one. This one has really good anxiety rep in it too, which I really liked. And lastly is Shipped by Angie Hockman. This one is also another one that I would say is similar to The Hating Game. It's sort of pitched as a cross between like The Hating Game and On Honeymooners, and I can definitely see that. This one is about a girl who works for a cruise line, and there is this guy who does like the social media for the cruise line, but he works from home, so she's never met him. And they're both up for the same promotion. They both want to be like marketing manager or whatever, and they're competing against each other. And their boss tells them, okay, you guys have to go on this cruise so that you can figure out how to market the cruise better, basically. So the two of them end up on this ship together, going to all these places together and doing different things and competing. And I really, really loved this one. If you're someone who hates like miscommunication in books, I feel like you'll love this book, because there was an instance in this book where like miscommunication could have sort of been the founding point for their enemies to loversness, but it was resolved so quickly, and I was so thankful for that. Like, this is the first, maybe not the first, but it's one of the few books I've read where I actually felt like the characters acted like adults in the situation, where they were like, look, I, heard this thing and it, sounded offensive, but maybe that's not how you meant it. And they were like, no, that's not what happened, and blah, blah. Like, they cleared it up so quickly, and I personally really appreciated that. And that's why I personally really, really love this book. Also, like I said, definite Hating Game and the On Honeymooners vibes, which is like two of the best books in my opinion. So definitely a really good one. Definite enemies to lovers. Really, really liked it. Workplace. It's sort of workplace because it's like they are working, but they're on a cruise ship, so it's also kind of fun. And so anyway, that is everything for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below. I do new book videos every single week, and I'll see you next time.